Welcome, everybody, to Greater Life, Greater Impact. I'm Janet, and I'm excited to talk about the topic today of hearing the inner voice of God within you. I've been having this conversation with several people this week, and this is what sparked the topic for today's class. And so I think that each of y'all might have an interest in participating in this discussion. Sometimes when we go through life and we develop our spirituality and we start learning how to hear God's voice, we start to develop those gifts and talents and the abilities to really tune in to the inner self and really listen. Sometimes people will use different language. Sometimes people will use the language of Father God told me this, or God told me that, or I'm being asked to do this, or I'm being asked to do that. And a lot of time, this is an interesting topic that came up in our discussion today with several of my friends. We're talking about, well, what does that even mean? Is that really God speaking to you, telling you what to do, or is it your inner higher self, or is it both, or what does that even mean? So I'm going to throw that question out there to you guys, and I would love participation. I would love your feedback. I would love to hear what your thoughts are on this this topic of hearing the inner voice of God within you, because I think it matters. While I don't really believe that it matters what the lingo is that we use or the terminology is that we use, what matters the most, I believe, is that you're doing it, right? Is that you're seeking to have a relationship with the divine and with your higher self. And there's a lot of ways that we can describe it. There's people in the New Age movement that have their own language and their own lingo. There's people in Christianity and religious movement that have their own way of seeing it and talking about it. So I'm going to just open it up to you guys. If you want to make a comment on that, who is God to you? How does God speak to you? So those are two separate questions, but give me some feedback. Let's just open up the discussion and talk about who is God to you and how does God speak to you? I will give you a moment. Ellie says, God speaks to me in synchronicities. I love that. Evidences, second witnesses, right? Just the way that you know God is there. That's awesome. Anybody else? I'll give you a minute. While you're thinking about it, who is God to you and how does God speak to you? While you're thinking about that, I'm going to share with you I just listened to a podcast that a friend shared with me just this last couple days. And in it, there was a reference to 1 Corinthians 2:16. And in that reference, Paul talks about the people that had been actively seeking for a relationship with God. Nicole says, feeling a soul expansion accompanied by a thought. I love that. Hold on, let me let somebody into the room. Tammy says, impressions and feelings. So that's how God speaks to you. Interesting. Back to the people of Corinthians. So in there, Paul talks about how they wanted to know the mind and the will of God, and they wanted God to be able to instruct them more powerfully. And these early saints at that time had expanded in their consciousness and in their spirituality so greatly that they entered into what is known as the General Assembly of the Church of the Firstborn. And what that meant to them was that they had the same consciousness or the same kind of mind and will as God. Some people in the New Age lingo would call that Christ consciousness. I guess that's not necessarily New Age, but Christ consciousness is having the mind and the will of God bestowed upon you because you found it within you. So that should give us a little bit of evidence, I guess, that the connection, the way that we connect with heaven, the way that we connect with the divine is definitely within. Hold on, we got a comment here. Ellie says, God speaks to me as whispers of impetus to do something such as even small moments, like a sense of, look at your dog now. And then I see a tick. That happened 7 times this summer. I just happened to look at the right moment and see the threat in time to capture it. Yeah, those synchronicities, that perfect timing, that inner stillness, that inner voice that whispers to you. So many people would call that God. Some people would call that your higher self. So how do you discern? And does it even matter that you discern? Because in my mind, how I've seen it, how I like to see it, is that when I go within, when I take the time to go into the stillness and go within the chambers of my own heart and the chambers of my own soul and my sacred mind, when I go within there, I am connecting to my own God self, the offspring of God, but I'm also meeting God there. So for me, God is divine beings. It's a father, it's a mother, it's a family of highly ascended God beings. And I consider myself on that highest level to be one of those beings. So it's connecting with myself, it's connecting with my godly heritage, it's connecting with the mind and will of God, which some people would call Christ consciousness. Anybody else have thoughts around that? Does that drum up thoughts in you?
I have a
Yes.
comment. Yes, it I feel the same way, Janet, that um when I hear that inner voice, it sounds much like my own voice. And it feels like a family member or a best friend or someone that I trust the most, more than anyone else on the planet. That's what it feels like when I hear my own voice giving me the answers that I already have within myself when I ask a question. And I think to myself, well, why can't I already know the answer like that if I'm getting a response like that, you know? Why do I have to go through these motions of asking the question? And I think it is so that I can build trust with myself as I am going through the processes of loving myself and forgiving myself, right? Because we are our own worst enemy sometimes. And I think that that's just my journey, and everyone has a different journey. And so it's really fascinating to build that trust. So, in an essence, I am building that connection and that trust with my own inner divinity.
Oh, I love how you said that. I think that's perfectly said. And so if you want to use the phraseology of God told me this, or Father told me that, or God is asking this, or God is telling me that, there's nothing wrong with that terminology, even if it really is your higher self that's telling you those things. It doesn't matter, because your highest self, the divinity within you, is one with the divine. It's one with Christ consciousness. It's one with God. It's one with Christ. It's one with all those who have ever ascended spiritually. It's one. There is only one mind when it comes to the divine. Um, and so it doesn't matter whether it's your higher self or whether it's God, because they are one in the same. Not that they're the same being, but they're the same in mind and thought and in purpose. The highest will of God is your highest will. God does not want anything other than your highest will. I want to go back to the General Assembly of the Church of the Firstborn. in Corinthians, Paul talks about it, and he talks about what the fruits are that comes when you align with Christ consciousness and enter into that general assembly. And it's not a church, it's a level of consciousness. It's an expanded level of Christ consciousness. It's becoming one in heart, one in mind with God, with Christ. Okay, we got a couple of comments here. You look pretty, Janet. Thank you. That's so sweet. Katie says the conviction of the heart with true repentance, which I view as not turning away from sin, but being reprogrammed in thought to have a more heavenly perspective, to change a false belief pattern, thus producing fruits of the Spirit. Draw near to God and he will draw near to you, which I believe is Christ within our heart space. Yes, that's beautifully said as well. You guys are so on point here. I mean, what you're saying really resonates with me. And I agree with Alicia. You look shiny and glowy today. That's because my friend Lisa taught me to dress. How did you say it, Lisa? To dress my truth or something. I can't remember how you said it, but to find colors that actually resonate with my soul. And I've been doing that. And everywhere I go, people are like, whoa, that looks really great. Okay, so back to becoming members of the General Assembly of the Church of the Firstborn then is to really learn how to tap into that Christ consciousness within you, the divine, the God's highest will within you, whether it's coming from God's voice himself or from your own higher self's voice, it doesn't matter because they're one and the same. So many people in religious context would say what we're doing then when we're communicating, when we're really tapping into that inner God voice within us, we're moving from 5D energy to 3D energy to 5D, or a telestial way of reality to an expanded consciousness, a terrestrial way of perceiving things. So when you move from lower level consciousness to higher level consciousness, you're raising your frequency, you're raising your vibration, you're expanding your mind, you're expanding your consciousness, and you're stepping into higher levels. And I never ever believed that. So in LDS culture, we were taught that there are different degrees of intelligence or glory. And the lower one is the telestial degree of glory, and that's basically this 3D earth that we live in, this 3D reality. And then as we expand in our spirituality and we start to grow and ascend, then we move to a terrestrial reality. And I used to think for a long time that those were places that we would go to, that there is the telestial, the terrestrial, and the celestial, and that's the highest kingdom that you can attain. And I always thought, well, that's where all the good people go that repented of all their sins and they got everything right and they checked all the boxes and they did all the things. And those are the good people and they get to go to the celestial kingdom. And I don't believe that anymore. I believe that the kingdom of God is within you, and it is a level of expanded mind and heart and consciousness. So as Paul, actually, this is found in the Doctrine and Covenants. For those of you who have LDS background, you will know what that is. You can go Google it if you don't. The fruits that come from stepping into and aligning with the General Assembly of the Church of the Firstborn, which is Christ consciousness, or connecting with the God within you. These are the people that hold the keys to the mysteries, the keys to all the blessings that God has for them. So in the Doctrine and Covenants 107, if you go to 107, 18, and 19, it lists out some of the fruits of being able to expand that consciousness and step into that General Assembly with God and with Christ. So I'll repeat some of them for you. The first one, the fruits, is to receive the mysteries of the kingdom of God. That's fruit number one, or the kingdom of heaven. Fruit number two, to have the heavens opened unto them. Fruit number three, to commune with the general assembly of the church of the firstborn, which is basically Christ and other divine beings, if that's what you choose to do. And the fourth fruit that comes from stepping into these higher vibrations is to enjoy the communion and presence of God the Father, God the Mother, and Jesus Christ themselves. Who doesn't want that? Part of the problem is, though, in order for us to accept the mysteries that we receive when we expand our spirituality and expand our consciousness and really do try to improve our connection with God, or our communion with God, part of the problem is we have a left brain and a right brain, and oftentimes they're not in sync. They're kind of disconnected, or sometimes even waging war against one another. And so, and the challenge that provides to us then is that our logic brain, the left brain, gets in the way and wants to talk us out of it. It wants to talk us out of divine truths. It wants to analyze everything to death. And they often don't speak the same language. So it's difficult to discern sometimes. It's difficult to tap in sometimes if you're too much in the left brain, too much stuck in the analytical mind. And we are going to talk a little bit more about that. Today, as I was pondering on this concept, this topic for today, I really went into meditation and prayer, and I felt to come up with 12 points, 12 concepts that will help to improve our communication with God. And so I'm going to share those with you. And as I share those with you, a lot of the concepts that came to me through, I listened to about 3 different podcasts, and I went into meditation and prayer, and I was in meditation and prayer, I feel like all night long last night. So this has been something weighing on my mind as well. And I know that many of you have been pondering on these same questions. And so it's great that we can be here to have these conversations. If you feel that you have questions or comments or things that you'd like to add to what I'm going to share with you, by all means, please drop it into the chat or unmute your mic and interrupt, because I think that we benefit the most when we can learn from one another. Okay. I guess the other question that I had that came up as I was pondering on this morning was, why then don't we hear God? What is it that disconnects us from being able to hear the voice of God, or feel the presence of God, or understand the mind and will of God? What is it that blocks us? Something that came to my mind, Alicia says, our own shame. Yeah, I feel that. When people talk about the right brain and the left brain, so I really do want to visit this concept, because I think that it helps paint a picture for some of the things that we can do to remedy when we feel a disconnect from God. So when people in the expanded consciousness community talk about left brain, right brain, we often refer to the left brain as the analytical, the logical, the logic and reason. It's the part of you that has to compare and compute data and analyze the data. The right brain is more of our spiritual antenna. The right hemisphere of the brain is what allows us to connect to the non-tangible, the more etheric, the more invisible aspects of reality that we don't really comprehend with our five physical senses, but we do with our spirit senses. And so what happens when the right brain, which is our spiritual antenna, and the left brain, which is our 3D antenna, it's the way that we interface with this world. When those two sides of the hemispheres of our brains are kind of separate and apart, or they're fighting against each other, we will feel separate from God because there's not synchronicity, there's not balance. We need both. We do. It's not a matter of annihilating the ego. It's more a matter of bringing the right brain and the left brain into balance and harmony with one another. I think another thing that plays into why we struggle with connecting with the divine or connecting with God is, somebody said shame. So yeah, lower level emotions will definitely get in the way of you being able to connect the right brain and left brain and bring harmony and balance to your mind, because God does speak through thoughts to the mind and feelings to the heart. And so the mind and the heart need to be in balance. The right and the left brain need to be in balance. Our inner light within us is what animates the external world. It's like the inner light of our soul is like a projector. You've seen a projector that projects an image up onto a screen or onto the wall. That's what we are. We project light from within to the outer world, and to a large degree, our outer world is a reflection of what we're projecting. And so if we don't like what's coming, what we're seeing in our external world, our external circumstances, then it's helpful for us from time to time to go within and say, what am I projecting? What's in me that needs to be resolved or find resolution? How is the outer world reflecting a reflection back to what's going on inside of me? So your recurring thoughts, thought patterns, emotional patterns, the more that those things run their cycles and run those patterns, you're literally creating this grid of energy. It makes a field of consciousness around your literal body. And that field of consciousness, or that grid of energy, like this big ball or a big sphere around you, is what projects out to the hologram of the 3D world and creates your 3D reality. So over time, what you're projecting spiritually, mentally, emotionally, through beliefs and attitudes and values and emotions that you're feeling, over time, if you stay in that same frequency, it'll create patterns, and you'll continue to run those patterns, and it will continue to create an undesirable external 3D reality. And so if we want to change that, we have to change the filters through which the light is being shown or projected. And what are those filters? They're beliefs, they're emotions, their frequency, literal frequency. And I think that's something that I should add to my list. I don't know if I added it or not, but we can add it. So let's go down this list. I have 12 things. Hopefully we have time to get through all 12 of these, but I have 12 things that I personally decided to come up with. You may have more. If you do, I highly recommend that you journal them out and add to your list as to what are the different ways that you can improve communication with God. So the first thing that I came up with that I felt like was really vital is to renew your mind. Here we have a comment. Hold on one second. Mandy says, I find that I am my own worst enemy, and I will have a belief that I should not bother God with my problems and that I need to deal with the problem myself, when in reality, I need Him to take it from me and give all to God. I love that. Yeah. And, oftentimes when you do take that time to go to the presence of God and enter into the assembly of the Church of the Firstborn, right? When you enter into God's presence, that will raise your frequency. And that's enough to change what's being projected out into your outer reality. So, principle number 1 is to renew your mind. Thoughts are spiritual projections. Every one of the thoughts that we have that we allow to go on in the stage of our minds, they are spiritual projections that are going out into the hologram and helping to influence your 3D reality. So a lot of times people will say things like perception is reality. And to a large degree, there's truth there. Your perception of how you see things, how you believe, what you believe about things, and how you feel about things, the energy that you're putting off and the frequency of that energy is creating your reality. So one thing I think that we can do to help us renew our minds is read and watch and listen to and consume things that are filled with light. So sacred writings, if that's the Bible, if that's the Book of Mormon, whatever holy texts fill you with light and uplift and edify you and cause you to feel an expansion of your own consciousness, do that. Consume that. Consume it in the way of pictures. I see Mandy has this beautiful, beautiful picture. That's what inspired this class today. She has this beautiful picture up behind her bed. I have one that's similar. In fact, that's mine. I love art. I love beautiful artwork. I love beautiful things. I love spending time in nature because it's beautiful. So consuming things with your eyes and your ears and your mind and your intellect, spending time in the living word of God, whatever that is for you, if that's the Bible or if that's your journals or if that's wherever there is sacred holy writ, spend time in the living word of God. Another thing that you can do to renew your mind and refresh your mind is speak those words out loud. Because the minute that you have a thought, thoughts are spiritual projections, right? But your voice is a physical manifestation of the projection. So when you speak your thoughts out loud, or you speak the words that you're reading or the stuff that you're consuming, maybe you're on a walk and you're expressing gratitude. Maybe you're in your scriptures and you're reading out loud. The minute that you bring it into your out of your voice and you use your external voice, you've brought it into the 3D physical world with you. You've changed your world by renewing your mind. This is a really good way to do it. If you do those things often, so sometimes praying out loud is good. Processing through your thoughts and emotions out loud is good. When you do that, it'll change the way you think. It'll change the way you speak. I find from time to time, it's really helpful for me. I talk to myself anyways, and I do it out loud, especially when I'm out walking or running. When you speak the words of God through Holy Writ out loud, it will literally change the way you think and the way you speak if you do it a lot, if you use it as a daily practice. Okay, I spent too much time on that. So let's go on to number 2. We've got 11 more. Renew your body. So number 1, renew your mind. Number 2, renew your body. Consume things that will allow you to project more light. I love eating foods that have undergone the process of photosynthesis. I love eating foods that are filled with light, that have there's intelligence in light. Water. Drinking clean, clear, pure water and blessing your water and blessing your food will raise the frequency. And so when you take that into your body, it's going to raise your body's frequency as well. So constantly spending time to take care of your body, renewing your body. If you need rest, get rest. Oh, I see we have some beautiful artwork in the chat. Wow. Kareen, did you paint that? And if you did, can I buy that? That is really beautiful. Let me see if I can do a screen share. Let's see. Give me 1 second. Screen share. Can you guys see that painting? Give me thumbs up. Yeah, that's beautiful. That's definitely, like, just looking at that raises my vibrational frequency. Just looking at it. This is why artwork is so powerful, and music is so powerful, and light is so powerful. She says, no, but my friend did. I might have to get in touch with your friend. That's really beautiful. So beautiful. So yes, renewing your mind, renewing your body. Your body is the temple where God dwells. So it's important that we do take care of our bodies so that the presence of God can dwell within us. And when the presence of God is more fully within you, guess what? You feel and sense and hear God more clearly. So if your body is filled up brim full with gunky, heavy, dense emotions that haven't been processed, you got to take care of that. That's on you. You have to do some work. Like, it takes effort. There's a price to be paid for. You don't just get to go stand in the presence of God and hear the voice of God. There are things that have to be done. I mean, there's a cost for being able to receive the mysteries of God and the mysteries of the kingdom and the presence of God. You have to be in alignment. And if you're not in alignment, then there are things that you can do to change that. Toxic foods. See if you can eliminate more and more of the toxic foods that are weighing you down and holding you back and making you feel gunky. So foods, addictive substances, emotions, maybe even sometimes beliefs that are weighing you down that just don't resonate anymore with you. Choosing to let that go, taking in light, taking in food, taking in clean, pure water, being out in nature. There's so many different ways that we can renew our bodies. Alicia says, but I want them so badly, Janet. Hamburger and pizza. I know. I get that. It really is an effort to train your body to want to eat healthy food. You guys are funny. The other thing in renewing the body, I find that rest, getting good rest and getting good sleep is really vital for me. I can tell when I haven't had good rest and I haven't had good sleep, I cannot function. My brain is foggy. All those things. Number 3, be aware of interference. I spent some time with my friend Lisa yesterday. And I was complaining about how my eyes just were bothering me. They were so dry and they hurt really bad. And I was trying to read a book and I couldn't even read and I couldn't see anything on my phone. And it was really annoying because there were things that I wanted to play the piano, but I couldn't read the music and I just had a headache. And she's like, have you cast out? And I said, well, no. And then she just looked at me like, well, why? Why haven't you done that yet? How come you're not on this? So her and I sat together and we did some casting out and we declared in the name of Christ that any interfering being or energy or weapon used against me and my energy field needed to depart because I was intentionally raising the vibrational frequency of my body. And so I did that. And guess what? In a matter of just a few seconds, My eyes felt better, and they still do. I can read now. I can see now. So just a renewal of the body through being aware of interference. And if there is interfering energy, either through your thoughts, your beliefs, your attitudes, or maybe there's spiritual interference that is tormenting you or plaguing you or trying to distract you. So there are things you can do about that too. If you need help in learning how to cast out, you can reach out to me. Corrine says, thank you, Janet. I love this painting too. So much light in it for me. Painted by Crystal Meldrum. Her artwork is filled with light. Okay, I'm going to go look her up. I love uplifting, edifying artwork. I'm always on the hunt for that because I love the way it makes me feel when I take that into my senses. Number 4, meditate. If you got the invitation to this class on Facebook, I think one of the questions that I asked about it was, does God or does Christ meditate? Because that picture that Mandy has, I shared with you guys on the Facebook invitation. He's sitting in a meditative pose and he's holding his hands in a meditative grasp. I mean, that's a literal meditative, I can't remember what they call them, but in yoga, you know how you hold the hands in a different way. Mudra. Thank you. He's sitting in a very specific mudra pose and meditating. And I thought that was very, very interesting. We're going to talk a little bit more about that as we go into some of these other steps. I think one of the things that being centered does, or meditating, or getting into your body, dropping down, going within, quieting your mind, doing all those things that meditation can do for you. I think what it does is it, number one, activates the pineal gland, which is your third eye, that allows you to see and hear spirit. But more than that, what it does, I think for me, is that it balances the right and the left brain so that they're not fighting against each other anymore. There's no resistance there. Your ego is not trying to talk you out of everything or make sense of everything. It just is. And there's balance between the two hemispheres of the brain. So for me, that's what I feel the benefit is of being centered and doing meditation and going within and getting into the stillness. I think that spirituality is its own language. It cannot be understood by the left brain. It cannot be acquired through the left brain either. It can't be acquired through logic and reason and reading. I mean, to some degree, reading sacred words and the Holy Writ and those things is good because you're filling yourself with light and higher vibration. But to comprehend those things doesn't happen in the left brain. It happens in the right brain, which is the spiritual center. And they speak a very different language. And that's why oftentimes when you have spiritual experiences, you can't describe it to others. You can't tell it. You can't teach it. You can't defend it. You can't share it, because people who are not in that state of mind, they will never understand it because it's a different language. So it doesn't make sense to the logical mind. And it's why it's difficult to share spiritual experiences. Spiritual experiences come through the subconscious mind, through the intuition, through the third eye. This is the subtle part of your being. It's a very subtle part. It's not going to come, little green men aren't going to parachute down and clunk you over the head with the message. It's going to be very quiet and subtle. It comes through the stillness. And that's why renewing your mind and your body is so vital. Number 5, let go of expectation. When you pray, if you put expectation onto what you're praying about or praying for or asking for, if you're putting your own projection, your own expectation onto those things, you're limiting infinite divine potential. You think about the divine infinite potential and possibility is endless. According to God and according to the universe, potential and possibility is limitless, it's endless. It has no end. But the minute you start to project your own expectation of how it's supposed to play out, how it's supposed to look, what you want God to do for you. Thank you, Ellie. I appreciate that. She's typing out the steps for you guys in the chat in case you needed them. When you set expectations for how you think it's supposed to play out or how you want it to play out, you're limiting divine infinite potential. So one thing I think that's helpful is, and I think this is one of the steps, is to just allow your life to unfold. Yes, you can set intentions. Yes, you can fill your heart with love around things that you love and enjoy and are grateful for. But the minute you start projecting expectation, you limit God. Bambi says, can you share more of how you figured out dress the color of your aura? I've watched Dress Your Personality only. Oh, yeah. You know what? Hey, if Lisa is still on here, Lisa, can you private message Bambi and give her that information? It's changed my life. It's changed my wardrobe. I got rid of all the black stuff in my closet and was like, I need to wear the colors that really reflect my personality more. And so I started doing that. Squirrel. Okay. Are we on number 6? I think. Yes. Number 6. Know thyself. Know thyself. This is so important. And this is what we do in quantum healing all the time. We're constantly connecting to the inner aspects of your being, to know thyself. Could there be a more worthy, more important pursuit than to know yourself? I think not. I think this is the essence of the purpose of life, is to come to know yourself in all ways. As you come to know yourself, it will elevate your frequency, your vibration. It will elevate your perception of reality so that you'll project out something more high vibe into the outer world, and your external world will start to reflect that. It'll put you into higher states of consciousness when you know thyself, when you learn how to connect to your higher self. And it will elevate your intuition. It will elevate your ability to hear the voice of God within you, because those two voices are one. They're the same. Okay. Number 7, observe your thoughts. Observe your thoughts. Have you ever stopped in the middle of the rush and the chaos of a day and just slowed down and went into stillness and went, what am I doing? What am I thinking? Why am I thinking that? You know, years ago, I took a intuitive eating course, and I lost like 30 pounds. But it was all about, I had messages taped to my refrigerator and my pantry, and everywhere where there was food, I had messages taped to all those places that said, what are you really hungry for? Why are you eating this? Are you really, is your body physically hungry? It probably isn't, because I went for 3 days without eating food before I really learned what true hunger really was. And it wasn't those things. What I was experiencing most of my life was just addiction withdrawal of chemicals in food. It wasn't even true hunger. So what it taught me was to observe my thoughts, and hunger will do that. If you are feeling deeply and profoundly hungry and you mindlessly go to the pantry and munch down a bag of chips, you're not being mindful. You're not observing your thoughts. You're not asking your thoughts, why are you here? What do you really want? What are you really wanting to fill yourself with? A really good way to help you observe your thoughts is to stare at a candle. I don't know if you guys have ever done that before, but light a candle. Do you ever go camping and you light a fire, or maybe you have a fireplace and you just sit there and stare at the flames? What that does is it brings your focus into the present moment now, and it allows you to focus on something, and you go hypnotic. You literally do get hypnotic. You go into an altered state where you're much more conscious, much more present, much more aware. Stare at a flame. When you become present like that and you observe your thoughts, what will happen is that you'll start to learn how to go beyond the objective reality and into the stillness and access the divine, the subtleties of the divine. The subtleties of the divine happen in the stillness when your thoughts are focused, or when they're still and they're quiet. You don't have to control your thoughts with brute force. You just have to observe them. Eyes that wander is evidence of a mind that wanders. So keep your eyes focused on something that can bring you into the present moment now. 8, number 8, see duality for what it is. And if you can start to see duality, which is good, bad, right, wrong, up, down, dark, light, sin, righteousness, this is right, that's wrong, you're doing it wrong, opinions, doctrines, dogma, all of those things put you into a state of duality. And when you're into a state of duality, what happens to us is it's really easy for us to get locked in, like prisoners, locked into specific opinions and belief patterns and belief systems. That's prison. So that's also being entrapped. And that's what the world, or those who are trying to control the narrative of this world, that's what they're doing. They're trying to enslave you into very specific belief systems. That's duality. So for generations on this planet, for centuries on this planet, religion has done that, politics has done that, education systems have done that, family programming has done that, has pigeonholed you into trapped belief systems because of good, bad, right, wrong, up, down opinions, right? There's an ascended master, a teacher, philosopher on the planet named Bashar. And someone asked him one time, what are the belief systems of Jesus and Buddha and Krishna, these ascended beings? What are their belief systems? And he said, they don't have belief systems. All they're worried about is know thyself. They're not subscribed to belief systems. They're subscribed to beingness. Know thyself. That's your beingness. What does it feel like to be you? What does it feel like to be in the presence and the essence of you? Bashar, channeled by Daryl Anka. Lots of videos on YouTube and TikTok. Yes. Yes. Some words of wisdom there, I believe. But again, don't take my word for it. Don't take his word for it. Go find out for yourself what's true. These ascended beings that were asked of this man, Buddha, Jesus, Krishna, this is my thoughts. I think each of them knew that they are the God within. They are the universe. They are a reflection of the universe and vice versa. The universe is a reflection of the God within them. And the more that you come to know yourself, the spiritual nature of your being, the more you come to know God, the more you come to know God's kingdom, which is the universe. And you start to realize, I am. The kingdom of God is within. It is me. I am the kingdom. Okay. Everything in the world right now is designed to distract you from that kingdom within. The media, all the things that I listed, all the systems, all the things that project belief systems onto you. And so it behooves every human soul to start learning how to discern for themselves what is true, what is me, what is you. Everything in the world is distracting you from knowing yourself. And why do they do that? Why does it matter? Why do they feel this need to rewrite history and rewrite the narrative and tell us a totally different story than what's actually happening in the universe and on the earth and in physics and biology and medicine? Why are they lying to us? Why? Why does that matter? Because they don't want you to know who you are. They don't want you accessing your own divinity. They don't want you to expand your consciousness, because they know that when that happens, they have no power over you. When you're distracted from all those things, from knowing yourself, you're not in your power. And they know that. And that's why all these things have been rewritten and transcribed and shaped into something that's ridiculous, that's not even true. And we've bought in and bought in and bought in for centuries. What is the absolute truth? You are. You are absolute. No dogma, no doctrine, no teaching, no opinion. You are absolute. Okay. That was number 8. Let's go on to number 9. Do I have it? Or is there more? Let me think here. Let's go over some more on number 8 on duality. I feel like there's a little bit more that needs to be said there, but when you finally when you decide or choose to close your eyes to duality, what happens when you do that is you open your third eye. There's a reason why when you see, that picture of Jesus that I shared, and he's in a meditative pose and his eyes are closed. Oftentimes you'll see images depicted of the ascended masters, the Krishna, the Buddha, and others who are in that meditative state. Their eyes are closed, but their third eye is wide open. It's because they've closed their mind and their eyes to the duality of 3D world, this 3D world that we live in. Lisa says, everything today is resonating so strongly with me today. Thank you. Hallelujah. Yes. Praise the Lord. When you close your eyes to duality, you open your third eye. What happens when you do that, when you open your third eye, that's a new reality. It shifts you into a totally different reality. It's a new consciousness. It's a new awareness. It's a new like your external world will dramatically shift around all of that too, because you're opening to other aspects of yourself. When you close your eyes to duality, you open the third eye, you open up new aspects of you. Charisse, go ahead.
So in working with duality exists. This is just my experience, so you don't have to take it as truth, but this is what I have noticed in working with my clients and in working on myself. I noticed that with duality exists in all things. It is everywhere. It exists within our own bodies, right? It is the opposition in all things that is talked about in literature. But what brings balance to duality, I find, is not only just closing our eyes to it, but actually being aware of it and seeing that, oh, okay, this really shitty experience that I'm going through, it's actually just part of duality. And then recognizing it. And then what brings balance to duality is actually the atonement of Jesus Christ. So I find that to help people through dualistic situations or whatever it may be, however you want to word that, I find just shining the light of Jesus Christ through that situation, it allows people to see clearly that, oh, okay, this is, I'm not being punished by God. This is actually just part of life. This is a part of human existence on this 3D plane. So, but that light, shining the light of Christ or the atonement of Jesus Christ, however you want to do that, whatever that looks like to you, it helps to bridge the gap in between the two, and it becomes one. It's like, as if you look at the picture of the yin and the yang symbol, that's I mean, that is duality, right?
Yeah.
So you have the black, you have the white, you have the, in our relationships, we have male and female, we have, I'm not going to go into that. Just kidding. Never mind. Back up. So many different versions of that nowadays.
Yeah.
But duality does exist. So, but it is all encompassing. So there is a circle around that, the black and the white in the yin and the yang, right?
Yeah.
It exists. It exists in oneness. So if you can bring balance to that, your perception will change of your situation.
Yeah, it really will change your perception. It'll change your reality. And so maybe it's not necessarily closing your eyes to duality as much as it is choosing to bring balance to the dark and the light, the good and the bad, the up and the down. Just bringing balance. Go ahead, Corrine.
Hey, okay. So I'm sorry, you're probably not going to get through your whole list. And I was trying to wait to see if you were going to hit on this. Maybe it's part of the know thyself. Something that has become very clear to me, some certain messages definitely balance. So yin yang, exactly the duality, what you were just saying. And I'm sorry, I'm not sure who that was just speaking, but that resonates with me too. The other thing I have found, because I've been just, always wanting to help others in this journey where I'm at and as I'm growing, and something that you had shared with me is just meet others where they're at. And so something that's been really clear to me is, as I've gone through some lots of different kind of therapy, there's lots of different modalities to be able to work through traumas. But when I have worked through traumas, me personally, a lot of inner child work, there's different modalities that you have helped us with, Janet, that have been amazingly helpful too. But bottom line, I have felt like it's like this little key unlocking. It's kind of like these traumas cause us to be like so off centered, and you don't even know it because it's so much of it is subconscious. But as you work through it, it's like you're just becoming more and more aligned and can hear your higher self so much clearer, or at least that is how it's been for me. So I just wanted to share that because I think
Yeah.
that as I'm trying to meet people where they're at, that's something that sometimes that needs to be like some bottom ground stuff, ground level stuff.
Yeah. And you never know where people are at in their processing through trauma, because we all have trauma. And so you never know where people are at in that. It's a vital skill to have, is to learn how to meet people where they're at. I think that I love what you shared also, Charisse, in regards to bringing balance to duality, recognizing that it's always going to be there. It's what stabilizes this universe, is the dark and the light, the yin and the yang, the balance of the two. But as we bring the left and the right brain into balance, like we talked about in the beginning, through the renewal of our minds, I think that it helps us to understand reality more, because we're seeing things from both perspectives, the dark and the light, the good and the bad, the up and the down, as within, so without, right? Anybody else have any comments on that piece before we move on to number 9? I think I missed hold on. I think I missed a comment. I did. The prophet Shiloh, I think that's Jason. The religious system of Jesus is the laws and statutes of Father's celestial kingdom. It would be true to say that Jesus gives place for everyone who rejects this kingdom and to do their own thing, if that is their choice. People really shouldn't speak on behalf of Jesus in a way that diminishes everything that he lived and died for. Yes, agreed. Thank you for sharing that. Did I miss any more comments? I think that's it. Okay, we're going to go on to number 9. It's already 2 minutes past the hour. I tried to finish right at the top of the hour, but I didn't. Number 9, be in flow. So we talked about balance. We talked about all the things. It looks like Ellie has made a list for you guys. You guys can screenshot that and capture those, but be in flow. Learn to let go of what you're clinging to, those expectations and your fears and insecurities, learning to let go and just allow life to unfold will help you to do those things, to bring balance and to really hear the voice of God more clearly when you're not resisting. So I find that one way that we can be in flow is to just get into center, go within, find that stillness, let the stillness come to meet you there, be in the stillness, be willing to let go of whatever you're clinging to, whether it's a belief or an emotion or a fear or a doubt or an insecurity, whatever is bogging down your system, being willing to let some things go so that you can move into that stillness and be in flow. And just like, it is what it is, and I'm okay. However it plays out, I'm going to allow the unfolding of my life to play out the way that it does without having to cling to it being a certain way. Number 10, be selfless. Now, here's maybe this is a little bit of duality. I don't know. But so we talk about know thyself, love yourself, have self-love, do all the things, self-care, blah, blah, blah. All that stuff is important. It is important. So then how do we be selfless if we're so busy wrapped up in self, right? Like we're taught to self. That's how we become enlightened, is through the self. I think that becoming selfless is a manifestation of letting go of what your ego thinks it wants in order to meet the needs of other people, in order to add value to others, in order to contribute to the world, in order to give what you came here to give. Share what you came here to share. That's being selfless. That it's letting go of what the ego thinks it wants. so that you can be what you came here to be. That is selfless. Go ahead, Charisse.
So just going back on what you talked about a couple weeks ago about being meeked. So when we know ourselves, our true self, who our highest self are, and our I am within ourselves, and we are yoked with Christ, and when we or deity, whatever deity that you cannot help but to help others. You cannot help but to see others as the souls that they really are, and see that, you know what, sometimes people struggle, sometimes people need help, sometimes people need a little extra lift. It's like the barrel of monkeys parable. I've talked about it a couple times, I think. When you have been lifted, if you look at the monkeys in the barrel of monkeys, the little game that kids have, it's one of their arms goes up and one arm goes down. So as you reach up and as you lift yourself up, you know, a lot of us have been through the dark night of the soul, and it sucks. It's shitty. You know, when we need help, we need to be lifted. And sometimes it's Christ that lifts us up. Sometimes it's a friend. Sometimes it's a stranger. We need to do the same thing and reach down and lift others when they're going through their dark night of the soul, or their struggles or their trials. You know, we could be the answer to their prayers. So in that, what you said a few weeks ago about being meeked, do you remember that? It was very profound that the horses that were meeked to the master that rode them, they knew their thoughts and their intents even before they gave the command.
Yeah.
So being linked to Christ, being able to see, oh my gosh, there's a need. Holy smokes, I need to go and help someone else. You know, being ready and willing and able to, I think on this journey, it just kind of automatically puts you into that position. Yeah, we are working on ourselves, and that sounds very selfish, but you can't draw from an empty vessel. You cannot. So the little drops of oil that we do, the meditations, the clearings, the healings, the whatever it is, the classes, the courses that we take, they're all self-improvement, so that essentially we can go out and help others.
Yeah. I love that imagery that you shared about the barrel of monkeys, because it's sometimes it's when we reach down to serve others, or Ellie's doing that. Sometimes when we reach down to serve others, even when we are in a dark night of the soul, even when we are going through something challenging, that's what lifts us and edifies us and raises our frequency, is when we serve someone else, or add value to somebody else, to someone else's life. That's often what will help us the most to pull us out of those dark night of the soul moments that we all get to go through. Okay. All right. So this is the last one. I thought I had 12, but I don't. I only have 11. So if maybe I missed one, or if you guys are thinking of something else in addition, maybe we'll just open up the mic at the end. So number 11, this is the last one that I had, is stop relying exclusively on our physical senses. I mean, it's okay to have our physical senses, but stop relying only on your physical senses to discern the world around you, and to discern reality, and to discern truth, and to discern God's voice. Sometimes we need a little boost. Sometimes it takes that balance of the yin and the yang, the duality, bringing those things into balance and harmony, the 3D and the 5D, the physical and the spiritual. We have spiritual senses too, just like we have our physical senses. And sometimes our bodies can give us physical implications of manifestations of truth, but sometimes it can also be subtle and non-tangible and unseen, and just impressions and knowings. You can't wrap your hands around that. You can't even wrap your mind around it. So trust the impression, trust the knowings, trust your gut, trust the unseen and the invisible, just like you trust the visible, and bringing balance to those things. Stop relying exclusively on our physical senses. Okay. Is there one more that wants to come out through someone? Is there something that I missed? Is there something that maybe popped into your head as we were sharing and talking? I'll give you just a minute to think. If not, does anyone have any comments, any questions, any final remarks, any final takeaways? What did you get out of this discussion? How has this helped you? And what are you going to do about it? That's a lot of questions. Okay, thanks, Ellie, for typing them all up. They're in the chat right now. I will, in fact, I'll copy those and we'll put them in the description of the replay on YouTube so that you guys have those.
Hey, Janet,
Oh, yeah. Go ahead, Bambi.
would you say learn to discern?
Yes. Yeah. Could that be number 12? Learn
I think
to
so.
discern. I feel like somebody is supposed to say something about that. I mean, I have my own thoughts, but I feel like somebody on here has something to say in regards to learning how to discern. How do you discern? How do you discern truth in your body? Go ahead, Sharice.
So with discernment, I could probably put my video on. Don't look the greatest this morning, but with discernment, I find that asking for God's truth in each situation, God, show me your version of truth. Because yes, everyone has their own perceptions, everyone has their own view and point that they can see. Like if you go back to the little story about the elephant and the wise or the blind men, I think I've told it on here, or I won't repeat it, but everyone has a portion of the truth, and we all see things differently based on our beliefs, based on our what's those glasses that you talked about, our filters that we have. So sometimes taking a step back and asking God, can you show me your version of the truth? Because that is ultimate truth. He can see the big picture. He can see the whole elephant. We only have a portion of it. So actually doing that is one of the biggest things that has helped me with my clients, because a lot of times I see things and it's all zoomed up and I can see, a little cell when I do my meditations, when I help people through their stuff. And I'm like, what am I seeing? I don't get it. So, God, can you zoom it out? Show me the bigger picture, and he'll show you, right? So God, please show me your version of truth, because even with regards to other people and why people do things. I have a little boy, and he kept saying when he was about 3 or 4 years old, he's like, oh, why are the humans doing that? It was the funniest thing ever. And I was like, oh, they're humans. But in reality, if we actually do just ask God, Creator, show me your version of truth. Why is this person saying that? You'll be able to see why people do things. And then it kind of is like, because it can be frustrating, right? So I have one more thing to add to the list. So maybe this is lucky number 13.
Yay.
And that is to break your connections with other people, because we are other people and other places and other things as well too. Connections, cords, chains, ties, threads, bonds, contracts. We're just such noble beings. We do that. We make oaths, we make covenants. Some of them are good. And I'm not saying that you have to break all of them, but ask God to show you what cords, ties, threads need to be pulled and released. Because sometimes those connections will affect our relationships with people. So when I work on people, one of the very first things that I do is I clear the waywards, and then I clear the cords, threads, ties, connections, because a lot of times that's what's holding us. So
Mhm.
that's my two.
I really love that. Thank you. Thank you for your wisdom. Thank you for always being willing to show up to these classes with your wisdom. And I know that so many of you on here that attend these classes have a lot of wisdom. And so I appreciate being a part of this community. I'm glad that I get to facilitate, but I'm really grateful to glean from all of you on here. You're all so just amazing and ascended, in my opinion. Lisa says, I second that. Breaking unhealthy cords is essential. Yeah, I agree with that. Katie says, in all things, test the spirit. She has in quotations. Ask, seek, knock. God grows it in us. Simply ask him to strengthen our gift of discernment and then practice. Yeah, I find too, maybe we could, I don't know, incorporate this into the list. I find that when I act on what I'm receiving from heaven and I step out and exercise my faith, I find that I get more, that more revelation comes and it flows a lot more easily when I'm willing to act on what I get. If I don't act on what I get and I retract and go back into fear and go, what? No, I will never do that. Why are you asking me this, God? Rather than do that, in fact, in the times that I have done that, I've been given a lesser portion of consciousness. And so if we want the greater portion of the word and greater portion of Christ consciousness, we have to be willing to act in faith and exercise. That is how we exercise our faith, is through our actions. So maybe we could add that to the list as well, is act on what you get. So we've got 12, 13, 14 in all. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We've gone a little bit over the hour. I think it was worth it. I appreciate you all being here. I'm getting ready in the next hour. Actually, it's going to be in 40 minutes now. If you want to join me over on my members area of my website, I'm going to be doing a live healing session. This is a really inexpensive way to kind of do your inner work, get some healing from some of the modalities that I use. I'll guide you guys through. We're going to tap in to our inner reserves of faith. We're going to learn how to get clarity. We're going to learn how to tap into our higher selves. And I'm going to facilitate an opportunity for you to really go deep and kind of do some cleansing work so that you can hear the voice, the inner voice of God a little bit better. If you're interested in that, if you're interested in, it is a monthly fee. You can go over to my website. I will type the website down below. It's https://www.greatlife. It's not greater, it's Great Life Greater Impact.com. We're actually considering changing our name because that was the new URL that we were able to get on our new website. And I actually like it better. So I'll probably announce that a little bit later. Katie says, so much love and light here. Thank you all for being you and so much gratitude. Janet, love you all. Blessings, y'all. Thank you guys for being here. Join me over on my members area. I typed it into the chat and I will drop it down below. You can access the members area of my website and join in on the weekly. There's a huge database of previous healing sessions that we've done. Mandy's giving hearts. Thank you. Love you all. Over on that website, we go live every single week after the free class. So meet me over there if you guys want to participate in that. All right. Take care. Love you all. Mwah. Bye.